I have something that's captured the heart of the people.
Yeah.
And it's something that really does the job that everybody was looking for when they thought about how do I put my business
Mm-hmm.
on the internet in a way that replicates the reality of in-person marketing.
Right.
And so that was missing, but now, with this, it's there. So it's really cool to see how people find out and then fall in love with it and then become raving fans, right?
Right.
The path that people take is really cool to watch. And
Yeah.
it's cool. It's only, if I was part of another community and I fell in love with the product and I saw other people fall in love with the product that I also bought, I'd understand.
Mm-hmm.
But being the creator of the product is a whole different level of like dopamine,
You
right?
did it, man.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, you did it.
So
You
so
achieved
that's
what people have been needing for a while, and you're poised to kind of take over this VR networking, right? I love
yeah.
it, and I'm really excited to see where this goes. You know,
Thanks.
I've only attended maybe half a dozen of these events, but everything I've seen so far is just spot on.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, and I
And
really want to see
yeah,
you succeed and make enough money to support yourself and your family, but you got to have a community around you, and you understand that perhaps better than anyone else I know, because you started this whole VR world and you've brought people together in a new unique way, and I see that connection developing. Even everyone I've met in the VR networking has been a solid deeper connection than just brushing into someone on LinkedIn or Facebook or
right.
something. So I really like it. I'm excited.
Well, the laws apply the same way that they do
Yeah.
in reality, right?
Yeah.
And when you build a community, you're not building, people, or numbers of people. You're building a culture.
Hmm.
And if you're doing it right, the way that I see community is your values are all aligned. And if there's an outlier, then they don't stick around because they feel different, and
Yeah.
that's good, because in the community we want people to be different, but be consistent with what they represent, and who they show they care for.
Right.
And if that isn't the VR networking community, um, then I want them to feel alienated. I want them to want to not be part of it, because they're not gonna get service out of the community at large, and they're not gonna provide great quality membership to the rest of them. And the people in the community are that they're precious,
Yeah.
and I need to protect them
Yeah,
as
no, I
as
feel
the
that.
oversight.
Yeah, you have that same. I mean, you know what kind of a personality you are, Myers Briggs. I feel like you might be an ENFP, the same as me, because I see so much overlap in the way you think, the way you're protective of your community, you feed into them, you're passionate about getting their voices heard. That's me, man. I mean, the overlap we have is really encouraging to see, because I'm excited for the potential as we bring our communities together. I think Triba is incredible, but it's missing some of that VR element, like that person to person. We have video, but a lot of people don't turn on their video. They'd still feel more comfortable having an avatar, being able to walk around. You can't walk away from a VR conversation like you can when you're messaging someone on LinkedIn and you're just like, oh, I'll go do
Right.
something else, respond in an hour. It's like you got to
No.
continue engaging like a person, like a human.
Yeah. Yeah.
and that spatial sound, for some reason, just people like to be heard. They like when you walk up and talk to them, right? They want that kind of personal connection, and that's what you're providing. It's an extremely important part of business networking that you're bringing back into a digital world, and I think
Yes.
that's where the key value lies in VR networking in the community.
Yeah.
By the way, I
Well,
also started recording because I figured we were getting into it, and we might as well do it. So this is a quest called Triba. We bring in experts like Roberto and talk about community, talk about business development. We're doing it in a new way. If you haven't heard of Web3, it's essentially the next iteration of what what we've already built with social networking and connecting online. Web3 is just taking it to a more personal, human to human level, right? You got the connections like Roberto's doing in VR, where you actually get to meet other people face to face. Well, not face, but you get to see them and talk to them and make connections that way. Then he also has a Discord as well, and I'll let
VR
him
network.
explain a little bit more about what he's done building out this community. Roberto, why don't you tell us like how this all got started? Maybe go back to your initial days in business and where that started going.
Yeah, dude. Well, firstly, I was a terrible business owner. Um, I was a web developer, and I worked my tail off trying to find clients, and had a terrible time and experience developing that business for, I don't know, 8 years. Um,
Oh wow.
and it was just starting to pick up, and then COVID hit. I was finally feeling like, okay, now I'm on the rhythm, and now I have like recurring clients, and they're developing themselves and whatnot. But
Right.
uh, COVID hit, and then I had like two clients, two new clients that year.
Right, right.
I still had old clients, but like nothing was growing. Um, and then I bought a headset because I wanted to play video games, a VR headset, and playing video games was like my dream to play. A first person shooter in VR. So like
Yeah.
was what I was like, yeah, I gotta get that.
Little did you know.
Little did I know, right? I bought it and I thought, well, I made no money this year, and all the money that I made had to be spent on personal things. So I didn't spend anything on business. So my tax was going to be like ridiculous. Um, and so I wanted to save every penny. So I figured, I could spend $300 on a Quest 2 and call it a business expense if I use an app that helps me organize or whatever. But all the apps suck. You can't really utilize VR for business yet when it comes down to like multitasking. You're just better in on the computer in real life. uh, I don't know what people are thinking when they like multi screens, and I'm like, you only have two eyes, and they look the same direction. Yeah, right. And so to me, that wasn't going to work. So I figured, all right, well, what else can I do? And I found out about social VR, and then my head went off on who's doing networking in virtual reality. And that could be my use case. Like I'll tell the government, yeah, I use VR to network. Um, and there was nothing going on, and I thought, well, how come nobody's using virtual reality to network? This seems so perfect. I can meet literally anybody, and anybody who's in business and understands networking or the power of networking uh, would have thought the same thing. Wow, what a great thing to have, uh, or know how to utilize networking, right? Um, it truly does bring businesses up to another level. If you know how to network, if you know how the tools of networking, if you know how to connect with people and build a community around yourself, your business does 10 times uh,
Yeah.
annually, right? If you do it right, you can build up 10 times. With VR, you could do that like 10 times more.
Huh.
And so the idea came to my head, why don't I just start it? I just start my own networking group in Altspace. And that idea, within a week's time, I got the headset. I did some searching the first 2 days, and then I asked somebody, "Where's the networking events?" And they said none.
What
So I
networking
said,
events?
okay, let me do it. And I did it. And then, I had like 5 people show up, and then I had 10 people show up. And that was it for a while. It was like 10 people would show up to
Hmm.
this, weekly networking event, for like 2 weeks. And then I said, I'm going all in, because I think that we can have, not 10, but 50 people
Yeah.
here networking. And then the thought was like, why 50? We could have 1,000 people here networking. And then I said, why 1,000? We could literally have 10,000 people networking in one space in virtual reality, and every day, and not just in English or New York time zone. We could have that happen in every
Right.
single time zone, in every single language, from every single country. Thousands of people who come into to a networking convention that happens 365 days a year.
Wow.
Speakers, music, games, everything that you dream of, you could tap in, and you don't have to spend any travel money. You don't have to spend a dime on a ticket. The idea is to make it free forever, so that
Right.
way people can build their businesses. Like, we can literally revolutionize uh, the small business industry. We
Hmm.
can bring up small businesses to a whole new level, and with that, bring entire communities out of poverty, and entire
Hmm.
countries out of poverty, because now
Wow.
they are hyper connected.
I love how big you're dreaming here. I mean, I
Thank you.
I mean, I don't know how many people are currently in there, but from what I've seen, it's just constantly growing. And I mean, now if you guys don't know what VR networking is, like there's a whole conference center that Roberto's developed. You get in there, yeah, there's like an event, there's usually a speaker, there's some discussion and like interaction between the members, but then you break off and go into this massive, conference where there's literally booths set up and people talking about their services and what they provide, how they're adding value to their community. And it's just incredible to see that this is replicated. I never really got into the business world when COVID wasn't a thing. So I started doing, I had some small businesses early on in my life, but really started networking and growing my brand in 2019. And then obviously COVID hit. So the VR networking has been the perfect place for me to meet other small business owners and really connect with them. I love that about it. Like you are superpowering the network in Web3. This is the powerhouse, and anybody who hasn't checked it out, you definitely look it up. Do you have like a short link or
No, it's just vrnetworking.com.
vrnetworking.com? There you go. Easy to remember, easy to go check out. I'll put the link in the description, but I think that this is the key for the future of networking and business development. This along with all the sub communities that are connected through VR networking, like Triba and Yeetum and Synergy and Con and VR. Is that separate or is that part of what you do?
So yeah, so it's the umbrella company is Canon VR,
Right.
and the goal with that is to reproduce everything that we do for VR networking for other event production companies. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say, you know, my one of my top 100 companies that are my dream clients, CES, needed somebody to provide the virtual reality aspect of their convention.
Right.
Um, Common VR is the company for that. So we'll
Nice.
design, build out, run the events, organize everything, and get all the businesses booths in there, and make sure that people are utilizing CES from around the world
Mm-hmm.
without having to travel to Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see that you're creating global markets for these businesses that kind of are stuck in their regions. They're region locked in this old way of networking. As far as you can kind of go physically travel, now you can join in with people from all around the world. So what is like the craziest, most unique connection you've made through VR?
That's a hard answer to find. The craziest connection.
Yeah, or like the most unique, something you never would have thought you'd see in VR or run into. I've already met some people. I'm like, how are you in VR? Like, what are you doing here? But still, I mean, I think it's useful for pretty much any kind of business, right? And so you see
Yeah,
people from
that's why it's hard. Everybody's unique.
right,
Tom, he sells lighting fixtures. Why are you in VR?
right, exactly.
Uh, you know, there's a sexual a sex therapy a sex therapist in virtual reality. I
Wow.
can understand that one, but it was still unique.
Right,
Um,
right, right. You
I
see
mean,
people growing their brands and their businesses.
yeah,
I mean, I met a guy yesterday, who basically builds from the ground up portable VR worlds, and immediately found an overlap with him that we could get into. We're building the VR art gallery in Triba, and like I'm really interested to see how we can take that into like the VR networking world and partner with you guys to build out a more interactive and engaging environment for this.
Yeah.
I want to partner with charities, I want to partner with nonprofits and make art accessible in the same way you've made networking accessible on a global level. I think we can apply the same concept to these businesses like you're doing with Con and VR, and take them, not just businesses but artists and creatives, and give them a world to interact with their audience and reach them on a deeper level. That's really the goal of Web3, right? You're bringing back the human on human interaction, making it harder to hide behind anonymity and obscuring who you are. That's really going the opposite direction of networking. We want
Yeah.
authenticity, openness, sharing with each other is the basis of developing relationships. If you're not authentically sharing, you're missing out on that connection. You're just superficial. A lot of superficial networking goes on. So what do you think is the most important part when somebody joins a networking event? Like, what's the most important part for them to get in order for it to be profitable for them?
It's a belief in it. It's understanding the core principles of what networking is. It doesn't matter if you're in VR or if you're on Discord, if you're on in real, Zoom or in person.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually being there for people,
Yeah.
and asking the question, how can you help
Right.
others,
Right.
right? And in that question, it's not coming in like, um, the idea of like, this for that, really poisons the well. And I think that is the the old way of networking is, you go into a room and you're forced to feed referrals out, and there is the law of reciprocity, right?
Right.
That applies, but you shouldn't feel like you deserve something because you keep giving. um, I think
Mm-hmm.
that really does damage it. So coming in without that is important. When you come into a networking group, especially VR networking, you come in solely to be part of a community that is there to help each other, feed each other, and also, just make connections. And honestly, it's just making friends. It's just making a ton of new friends
Right.
and knowing them, right? The goal, for this summer is to continue to create better productions, and
Mm.
then also reinforce, um, the uh, connect after VR aspect of things.
Right.
Because when people meet in VR, VR is a great tool to meet and connect every once in a while, but you're not really forming that true bond. You can if you're there all the time, and not everybody has the time to be there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I feel
so
that.
the best way to do that is to get back to the basics. We get on a phone call
Mm-hmm.
or FaceTime or Zoom and get to know them, and then put them on your schedule, and
Mm-hmm.
know them thoroughly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that's the best. Forming micro pockets of that community, forming a
Right.
community around yourself from this larger community. That's what I want people to take away from this. 'Cause that's how
Yeah.
they're going to do better.
Yeah, that's what I tell people all the time is, you have to follow up. You can't
Hmm.
just start that conversation and expect it to turn into something fruitful and beneficial for both parties unless you're putting in a little bit of effort to reach out and ask them, what are their needs? Don't think of it like you said. You can't think of it like I'm going to get something out of this as soon as I give some value here, but rather, hey, how can I help a network, a community of people who will then be sharing what you do, sharing the value you've created with other people? It's oftentimes
Right.
not the primary connection, but the secondary and tertiary connections you make through really pouring into someone. Like Roberto and I met, I think we met in VR, didn't we? Did we meet in VR or on?
Actually, I don't remember.
Now I can't remember. It might have been on Discord, but we've known each other for a
Oh yeah, it was
while.
on Discord. I think I found Triba. Oh no, maybe it was LinkedIn, dude. Honestly,
Oh wait, wait,
I
wait.
don't know.
No, no,
I think I joined Triba.
it was Joe. Who's the VR business and VR guy?
Business in VR.
Or he was one of the guys. I dropped in on alt space on a random networking event like a year ago, and he was doing just a conversation. I think he invited me to VR networking, and I hopped in and then met you that way.
Maybe.
Pretty sure that was my journey, which was unique because I was like checking out VR. I really didn't think there was any networking going on. I was doing it for another business startup I was working with, and then ran into this whole group who was already doing it. And I was like, this is perfect. He solved a need. And since then, I've streamed the VR networking in Discord. My goal, I'm like the intermediate, right? I consider myself like the first step to get to Roberto and use the tools that he has available for businesses. I help you bridge that gap. I'm bringing you in from LinkedIn, the Facebook groups, and then be like, all right, this is what VR looks like. You don't have to have a headset. You just get in there, just meet people, be yourself. And that's what's really cool is I've seen a lot of people in Triba get value out of what you have to offer. And it's no loss to me. It's actually a benefit to me for my community members to get value from you, because then they come back and they're like, thanks, that was really awesome. I'm going to bring more people in, show them about VR. And we're growing this community of subgroups, sub-communities that are just working together towards a common goal of being,
Well, that was your idea that you shared with me on, how Discord should be working. It's interwoven between, people are interwoven between multiple communities, and they're sharing about each other, and that information just like bleeds through like a leaky faucet, and it just works.
It's like a bunch of little streams trickling down. They feed into each other, and they ultimately are providing water for the whole ecosystem. And we're forming a network here of business communities, people who aren't just interested in gaming, but people who are interested in growing their network in a new way. And
there's a lot of information that's held back because they don't have the channels to share, right? But with Discord and in VR, that there's no walls.
Yeah, you get to see a whole different side of people as well, because you can, go through the messages and see what they've been talking about. You can look at other people's conversations. You can stop in while you're, like you're walking through the VR world. You can just stop in and listen to a conversation, just like you would in real life. And that serendipity is what I really think you're bringing back to the business world. It's like a casual bump into a CEO, and you're like, oh, you need this, I have this. Let's help each other out. Now you have a new connection.
Yeah, and the thing is, you don't, because we're all avatars. There's no like, there's no difference in us. And even when there will be, like, if you look at VR chat, there are crazy avatars in there. You could be Kermit the Frog, and or a T-Rex. It really, even there, you don't differentiate me from you based on what negative human aspects we have in our own minds that like want to separate ourselves from other people and differentiate. So you come in with like this clean slate of evenness and fairness.
Right. Your people
unless you're
first.
completely twisted, right?
Your people first, right?
Right.
You go in and you see a bunch of people. I feel like on LinkedIn, I go in and like everything is pre-qualified with this person's the CEO of this, or this person's marketing such and such. Like that's what you get before you even talk to them. So it's like every interaction on there is kind of has a hidden intention.
Yeah, they're all different. All the conversations are different from the start. So you talk to a CEO differently than you talk to a sales guy.
Yeah. Instead of just, oh, you're another person, how can I help you? How can we help each other? Let's build a relationship. And then you find out, oh, this guy runs a furnace company.
Multi-billion-dollar company. Right? And you have no idea.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that guy really likes you because you talk to him just like anybody else.
Yeah.
And that got you to that next, I don't know, they just gave you a bucket of clients. And now you're $1 million business. You went from $100,000 to $3 million in annual profits because you found the right guy at the right time.
That's the power of networking, man. That right there. And I think you're doing it in a way that allows people with less experience, maybe they don't have the best social speaking skills, but they can, be an avatar and talk with someone like a CEO without that predisposition. everybody, I've studied psychology, you probably have too, but like we have cognitive predispositions when we go into a conversation. If we know certain facts about someone, it's going to impact our initial um, conversations, topics, questions. And when we act on those, that's when you have, bias, when you're acting on your predispositions. So I think
Yeah.
removing that in a layer of VR networking, you have just human on human interaction that ends up generating organic business for both parties. And I've made some great connections. Harry was in there yesterday. He made some great connections. And then he actually had the CEO of a company. He ran into like a sub to somebody who works for this guy, and then like a couple hours later, this guy adds him on LinkedIn and messages him like, "Hey, we'd love to work with you." Just right off the bat, like that's a perfect example of how it's done. He
Dude,
just was
what?
human with her. Yeah,
That's huge.
yeah. I mean, that's Harry's honestly a star. He's a powerhouse
Yeah,
of networking. The kid is taken off.
yeah, he seems really with it.
Yeah.
Like you get it.
Yeah. So, what do you see as like the future then for these events? I know you're putting on some like bigger workshops, getting a bunch of speakers together. I'm really excited to talk on the 29th. But how do you see this growing in the next year, like the rest of this year?
So the trade shows are a high point in my focus. So I
Yeah.
want to make sure that I am designing these trade shows and systematizing things so it's easier, and then and getting people on board.
Mhm.
Um, because the trade shows are what's going to bring people into you know uh, into understanding what we're doing.
Right.
The networking events are what people are going to subscribe to on a regular basis, and then the courses and the workshops and the mastermind events. Those are all self-produced by the business owners and coaches who belong to the community. So I just want this to be like a self-sustaining machine, an uh,
Right.
organic blossom of people growing and doing better and learning what VR marketing looks like. Right? It's much
Mhm.
like YouTube. So I really want to educate the business owners that are part of this community on what to do,
Yeah.
or how to do it, and not really educate, but like brainstorm with them because hell, I don't know half of what's possible yet,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I've been doing it for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Um,
We're on the
and
cusp.
yeah, it's still too new. So my goal for this year is to just really design better events and
Mhm.
bring in 1,000 people per networking event. That's
Nice.
on our big
Yeah.
goal is 10,000 people per
Yeah.
networking event. That's a
Wow.
Tony Robbins level event every week, right? So in the year long goal, I want to make sure that we have a growth. So designing the funnel, getting LinkedIn events designed better, webinars designed better,
Mhm.
and get people who are interested in what is the metaverse and how do I get my business in there, right?
Mhm.
What is the use case here? Um,
Right.
there isn't much right now other than what we're bringing, through. Um, so I want to be able to educate and then get people to sign up and join Altspace, because Altspace is definitely, like, I have a 98% uh, uh, internal guarantee, right? I feel like it's a 98% chance of it being the number one place for business owners.
That's awesome.
Um, where everything else is going to be like for the people, for regular
Right.
things. Um,
And it's all free to
so
join, right? Like you can just
it's all
go in
free
there
to
and
join.
network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come in, create your own network event, bring in your own speakers,
Yeah.
do the thing that you want to do in virtual reality right now. You could do it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that what my point is that they structured it so that way people can start marketing themselves in this new way, this new medium that's much like YouTube, but still live.
Mhm.
And that adds another component.
Right. Right. It's way
Something
better than YouTube. I mean, I get what you're saying, but
The
you get to
retention rate
talk to
is
people, right?
ridiculous compared to YouTube. Watch time after 25 minutes. You'll see a drop if the content isn't right. But even mediocre content in VR keeps people there. You know, you'll have a retention rate of 70% of the people
Mm,
who joined at the front will stay for 90 minutes.
wow.
the amount of time that people stay in front of your brand or your topics and your expertise
Yeah.
is just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So once companies start seeing that, they're going to move away from just video to video and live production,
Yeah.
because anybody can join.
Yeah. Live production, that's where it's at. I stress that over and over with the seed method. Um, Essentially, kind of the same idea of just making it human on human interaction in a live setting with engagement, Q&A, whatever it is. Just get the audience sharing and participating. Every event I've been to in your VR world, you've had people raising their hands, asking questions, sharing their own little anecdotes and stories. And when I gave my talk, it was extremely beneficial early on in my brand development to get feedback from people on the process and hear their ideas on how community development supercharges businesses. Because essentially, I see myself as that intermediate step, like you said, getting people aware of what Web3 marketing is, bringing them into this world, and then kind of handing them off like, hey, go set up some live events, go start doing streams, go start reaching your audience in a way that you couldn't do before you learned about these techniques. So, from what I see, you kind of service both individual brands and businesses looking to network, small businesses, and larger scale businesses that want to reach a different audience, reach their same audience in a deeper way, right?
Yeah.
So how does that work then if I'm a business looking to get into VR, more than just going in and networking? Obviously that's a great place to start and I highly recommend you guys check it out. But say I wanted to partner with Con and VR and start something myself, what would that process look like?
I was listening to a good podcast. I forget who the speaker was, but it was let me pull up the title of the podcast.
Was it a quest called Triba?
No, it was Entrepreneurs on Fire, and the guy was interviewing a guest, and they were talking about how businesses utilize public speaking. And the guy being interviewed said all roads lead to public speaking. And in business, that is the one way to market yourself, right? To get more clients, to get more more of a respect on your brand, because you are now known as that professional, the one who has the expertise in this field.
Right.
If you're the one talking about it.
If you can share clearly, you're building your authority.
Right. But it doesn't, it's like they pointed out that you don't really need to, and this is what I believe in, like it really does come down to the presentation, right? You don't have to be the one presenting to be the professional, to be the one getting the benefit of the brand awareness. There are multiple ways to do public speaking. It's just getting somebody else on stage does the work, and it's you that says, all right, thanks for coming, we'll see you next week, and that's all you can say, and it works. So when you start thinking about how can I, let's use Tom, lighting guy. He has a company, Tom Isabel's Lighting, that sells fixtures and lighting fixtures and home decor. How can he come into VR and produce an event that grows brand awareness? Well, he figured out a simple way: run a book club. Run a book club on self-help books, and that book club, brings in 20 people who are interested in Jim Rohn's how to win friends and influence people. They're just reading chapter by chapter every week, and he has, he's at the front of it and he leads the conversation, and everybody knows Tom from Tom's Isabel's Lighting.
Yeah.
Right? That's it.
It's crazy how you can incorporate this into anyone's business.
Anybody's business.
Yeah. I've worked with,
and it's so simple,
comic books. It doesn't just have to be an online digital business. It could be physical. Say you're creating a product that you want to grow awareness for. Add value in whatever way you can, and to stop thinking about it as, hey, I just need to find clients. Because
right,
oftentimes it's not the first person you meet, it's their connections. And they're
right.
like, "Oh,
Third degree.
my wife needs some lighting fixtures. This guy runs my book club. You know, great discussion. He's a
Exactly.
solid dude. I trust him." Build trust with your audience, and it's going to turn into organic growth and revenue.
100%.
I love
Um,
that. So what is that? So does he run one in VR? Is that the book club, or does he have like
yeah,
a
he runs a VR book club.
wow?
This is my point. Like, if you look at the market for podcasts,
Yeah.
if you look at the market for YouTube videos, you combine that market, that's what VR is going to be.
Mm-hmm. It's
People
happening.
it's just going to be a mass amount of people, regular people, people without businesses are
Mm-hmm.
going to start utilizing how do I build a party of people,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it, and they do this weekly, and that's a channel already,
Yeah.
you know, and that can bring sponsors, 20 people who are dedicated to your thing, to your event, can bring you somebody who could pay you for the year,
Yeah.
right? A
Yeah.
sponsor that's really serious about what you're providing. It might be their product that you're talking about, so that
Mm-hmm.
could be a sponsorship right there. But the point is that the attention span there is so high, and the reach that you have in virtual reality is so broad. It's global in a different way. You're not limited to this 2D space, and alt space allows for like a calendar view that you can just see what's happening right now and pop in. Now you're in that space,
Yeah.
enjoying people there together.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It really is cool. I mean, I've had some unique experiences in there. I've given a few presentations and talking about like community relationship development, this very kind of topic, next Friday, the 29th.
The 29th.
Yeah, that'll be really cool. You guys should definitely check that out and hop in there. You don't need a VR set. You can just
Nope.
show up. You know, it's kind of like hopping in a Zoom call, except you have to do a little WASD to move around. And other than that, it's really simple. Download the AltSpace app, check it out. Go to vrnetworking.com and
That's
see
right.
what kind of events they have lined up. Roberto's an incredible host. You know, I've learned a
Thanks.
lot from him as well, and just how he runs things. Very tight ship. Uh,
Thank you,
much
bro.
respect.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'm honestly viewing Triba more and more as a central hub for these spokes of people like Roberto who are doing new and creative kind of business. So I really love that, you know, I can send people there and know they're going to get a quality high value experience. They're going to make connections. They're going to come out of it talking about VR, spreading the news with people in our community, as well as like the dozen other business communities connected with Triba. And you know, check the partners channel. You can see events that are going on, and um, there's always value being added, and that's what I love about it. That's what I love about you, Roberto. You have a heart for the people and serving the people and building these networks. So it's really cool to see, and I appreciate you coming in and sharing about this. Honestly, it's really um, adding a lot to Triba to have this opportunity, and I want to see how we can take the Triba events into VR and even the art gallery and work with some of the partners we've met in there. I mean, what do you think about the conversion on, you know, Web 2 to Web 3? Do you have specific numbers, or have you tracked the data seeing how hard it is for people to get over?
Um, no, I don't have data on that. I just have the retention rate data
Yeah.
and the sales from
Yeah.
retention, uh, the conversion rate, right?
Yeah.
But I don't have the data from Web 2 to Web 3. But from what I've experienced, not knowing numbers, but from what I've experienced, is when you tell somebody about Discord, they might know about it, but not have jumped in, and they'll
Hmm.
jump in, but they won't stick around.
Yeah.
And it's hard, and it's almost the same thing, but a little bit easier for VR because it's an easier concept to understand. Okay, I'm a person in this
Yeah.
world, and I
It's
can
not nearly
travel
as
around.
overwhelming, I don't think. You'd think it would be
No,
more
it's
overwhelming, but it's actually a lot simpler.
right. I mean, it depends on how you explain things, right?
Hmm.
And the hardest part, and that's something that I'm addressing now, is bring people who are enticed to jumping in, who are like, yeah, this is exciting, I want to try that out, finding out that that it's easier to do than they thought, that they don't need a headset, and
Right,
trying
right.
it. And once they come in, that's it. So the education portion is what I'm trying to work on.
Mm-hmm.
How do we educate? And that's going to be webinars. It's going to be a funnel of, come to the webinar, learn the steps, download the app, and then join in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Honestly,
all all Web3 platforms need to do that,
that's
because it's not
perfect.
as easy for somebody to just do it themselves. They need a hand to hold.
Exactly. That's the idea. We honestly, Harry's helped me implement, and the whole tribe of staff has been really good at is reaching out to every new member. Like you said, like follow up. You got to put in a little bit of effort to get these people warmed up in this environment. But once you do, they see the value pretty quickly as they connect with other real businesses. They're like, oh, this guy, runs an operation, a global operation. I can learn from him. And yeah,
Yeah.
you get some of the people who are just in it for the personal gain or
Me, me,
entertainment.
me, me.
Yeah, me. But you also get a lot of really quality people who care about the community. You get the return people who are investing their time in growing this because they see the long-term vision, right? That's really cool to see. I would
Yeah.
honestly be interested in doing like the crossover events where we have those webinars for Triba members and the other communities, kind of explaining the steps to go the next level, right? To get into the VR world.
Right.
Yeah, so we should talk about that after this.
Yeah. Or how to utilize Discord
Yeah,
from people in VR.
right.
People in VR are signing up to the Discord, to the VR networking Discord, but not utilizing it correctly.
Yeah.
And it's my fault. It comes down to me and not being able to, one, not have the time to educate
You're
them. That is
focused
a
on
separate
VR.
project.
You're
Right
focused on
now
VR.
it is.
Yeah.
But once everything is done, then Discord is definitely a
Yeah.
secondary focus, because I know that this tool can be utilized the rest of the time, right?
Right.
Instead of like just the hour and a half, 2 hours that they spend at VR networking events, they have all week that they could really utilize each other's connections.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as simple as asking for help, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
all this tool can help you with. You have a problem, here's the community that will help you.
Mm-hmm.
What is your problem? Ask, and you shall receive.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see how easy things could be. It's just hard to do it all, right? To educate people. That
Well, I
is a
think
serious
Discord's
step.
going to be your key to that. I see it as a perfect opportunity to integrate a follow up and educate people on the steps to take. I've met several people in VR that then I've kind of lost contact with because I didn't get enough information to connect with them, and that's
Well, the tools aren't there for that, right? So
right.
you can't easily click a LinkedIn icon that floats over their head and then be connected,
Not yet.
right? Not yet.
But we send them
So
to Discord and have a follow up
yeah,
like, hey, here's the chat where we talk about the discussion, the event discussion, and then here's a follow up chat where people post their LinkedIn's and get to connect with each other.
yeah,
We do something called the collab party. Jay started, and it's like once a week, I think, and everybody just shares their most recent LinkedIn posts, what they're adding, how they're adding value, and we just support it as a community and connect with each other. So I think that would be something to integrate into the process of these events. Have like a follow up, maybe even like a post event discussion where people can get into Discord and hear a little more. Maybe it's casual. I'm just thinking some way to bridge that gap so then they become advocates. They can bring people into Discord that may not be ready to hop into VR or scared to and get their feet wet.
yeah.
Yes, sorry to cut in.
No,
Yeah,
we can do a question and answer. It's been about 50 minutes, so
it's not a question.
okay.
But I'm not here long. Obviously, I've just come home and I'm off back out. But I saw what we were doing here and I thought I'd best join. I attended VR Networking's VR network event on Monday,
Mhm.
and I'm glad we've kind of touched base on utilizing Discord, because the way I see it is we have. I'm going to say we. I'm not fully involved, but I'm talking about VR networking here. We have these events.
Harry, you're part of the community, so it is a we.
So we
Well, yeah. So we have these events on a Monday, right? And then the next event, unless we have a trade show, is the following Monday. So we need to utilize the Discord from the Monday to the other Monday. So we've got something there we're engaging with the community rather than, okay, right, we're going to have this event on a Monday, then people are left in the dark until the next Monday. And I'm not saying that's how it is now, but if we really utilize the Discord, then I just think it's going to create that sense of community. And like Sam mentioned, people who might not be comfortable with jumping into alt space, they might check out the Discord first, which is what I did. I checked out the Discord before I got into the alt space event. And I just want to say real quick before I do go is I haven't stopped singing Roberto's praises, VR Networking's praises all week, and I feel like a broken record. But as a VR noob, somebody who's new to VR, alt space, everything, I mean, I just use my desktop, but I was really scared. I thought, wow, because, it's not a long event, but you have about an hour of somebody speaking a presentation, and then you've got an hour or so to go around and talk with other people and go through to the convention side of things. But I didn't know that until I jumped in, and I thought, oh my god, it's going to be just 2 hours or a couple of hours of somebody sat there talking. I'm not going to know anybody. Is it going to be good? How is it going to go? I went in, and it was just amazing. Honestly, Robert, I'm going to continue to sing your praises because it was absolutely fantastic. So you can bet that I'll be there every Monday, and I look forward to the upcoming trade show.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, and that's the feeling that I think that I think that's the feeling that everybody gets when they understand what it is. It's not a webinar. You're not going there to sit and watch somebody and listen to a topic for an hour. Our goal is to produce a 10-minute presentation, and the rest of the hour is an engagement exercise or activity, right? And then open networking. Once you get everybody out of their bubble, out of their zone of comfort, and activated. That's why we do a little dance in the beginning, is to get everybody just.
That was actually pretty fun. I did.
Yeah, it
sounded silly at first, but then I was like walking around, everybody's moving, you're getting that energy.
It's like in real life, if somebody were to come in and say, all right, everybody, do a silly dance, get up from your seat, do a silly dance, everybody eases up. And that's the the benefit of doing something in virtual reality is you can do it in real life. You're on your couch at home. I tell you, get up and do a little dance. You're going to do it, right? And that gets you activated. And
I use WASD, but
if you're doing that, but you bop to it, right? So
yeah.
And you look around and you see people like moving their hands and dancing and doing a jig, and that's exciting, and it gets you happy because you're like, this is so silly. And then you get active, right? Once you're activated, then you become an activated member, and you're talking and you engage. And so VR does something that 2D kind of does, but it just does it better.
No, I see you as empowering people to take their business to the next level, networking and growing through community. Like, this is the essence of community development, and I'm so excited to talk more about this and add some value. Hopefully I can teach people some things that I've developed over the last 5 years, but really I've learned a lot from what Roberto does in VR networking. What's your favorite way to get people out of their bubble? Let's just say that. Like,
oh, it has to be. I mean, it has to be the dancing.
Yeah.
To get people out of their bubble. Other than like popping up next to them and just saying, give me your all. Like, talk to me. Tell me about yourself. And then seeing how far they'll go with introduce themselves, and then digging in and asking for more. That gets people out of their bubble.
Yeah.
But it always comes down to questions. Alvaro brought it up in Monday's event. To get people to talk, you just ask them personal questions about themselves. No, nothing too heavy. And people love to talk about themselves because we're all self-interested in the it just I like to share my story.
Yeah.
And that's everybody. So when you just dig in and get to know somebody or really care, you show them that you actually care. You're not just passively like, oh yeah, so tell me what you do. Okay, that's great. That's cool. I do something like that too. Actually, I was just doing this, and then you get into yourself.
Yeah,
Passive
yeah,
listening. It just
yeah.
doesn't work. You got to
Yeah, no,
be
you
engaged.
got to be an active listener. Maybe that's something we should incorporate into the training. And like the networkers workshop we're putting on, it's basically like 3 days every month where we just train people on how to be human on human, how to do this Web3 networking. And I want to incorporate the VR into that and explain like, okay, next step, you got to go into VR and do this person to person. Like we can teach you, but you got to take those tools and apply them for it to really direct the business back to you. Like you said, you got to activate. And activate means putting in the energy to talk to people, to really follow up with them, to find out what their needs are, to solve their pain points before you expect them to come in and solve your pain points with,
Right.
their wallets or their connections. Really add value to people, not just listen and exchange business cards and LinkedIn profiles. Really find out what their needs are, because chances are, if you're networking, you guys can help each other by even just connecting each other, and that's going to come back to you in ways that you may not be able to imagine right now if you haven't been in this world. But anyone in here, Harry, Lauren, Michelangelo, we got lots of people listening in, they'll all tell you that this works really well. I mean, we've all found jobs from Discord, surprisingly, and from VR. Like people are finding work and businesses are benefiting from this now. If you're listening and you're hesitant, you're on the edge, maybe you're just getting into Facebook, skip Facebook, just go to VR, like get on Discord, join these
I
communities.
mean, I wouldn't say that.
I don't mean skip it, but like if you're trying to do what people have been doing for the last 10 years, you're going to be lagging behind here. I mean, you're going to fight all the noise, fight all the confusion, and like you said, you can only be in one place at one time. This is the key. You can
Right.
only be in one place at one time. When you're in VR, you're in VR. You're listening, you're participating. When you're in Discord, you're in this Discord. When you're switching between Discords, you're switching your attention span. And obviously, people should know that you can't do that too much. You're going to lose productivity. So really, it's about maximizing the time you do spend networking. And I think VR networking, the events that Roberto puts on, are a prime example of how to do that effectively. Make real connections, come out of it with something to follow up on, some action points to take. Like Harry did, he reached out to a bunch of people on LinkedIn afterwards, got some calls set up.
That's how
Don't
you network,
just
baby.
go in and be there. Like, this is a new
Yeah.
level. This is a new level, and I love it. I really appreciate what you're doing, Roberto, and I think it's
Thank you, man.
necessary, very
Yeah, I
necessary.
appreciate that. And we do need to talk about how to incorporate the Discord community into VR and then back into Discord.
hmm
So
I think we can
we
complete the loop here very very easily. Triba's kind of been working on this side. You've been working on this side. We bring it together here with the systems we've kind of developed, and Harry's been working on. It's gonna be a whole new experience very soon, and I'm looking forward to that.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
it
So
already an incredible experience. I'm not
we
gonna
so we need to schedule an actual sit down and go through that strategy plan
right.
and just see what these cross events look like.
Yeah,
Because they're not hard to do.
yeah,
It's just you just need to sit down for an hour and plan it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think for those listening and watching, if I had a key piece of advice, it's you could. I don't know if this is going to be this little bit of the conversation is going to be edited out. I would presume it would be. But for those listening,
no.
I would just suggest to take the leap. Experience it. Join the Discord, then join on a Monday at 3 p.m. EST. Just dive in. There's like I mentioned as well, and I don't know if Roberto's touched base on this, but for those of you that aren't in the US time zone, or if you're in Australia, there's an Australian event as well. So
That's right.
they're accommodating all time zones, but take the leap. You've heard here a little bit about us scheduling calls, and we're going to be talking about how can we work together to create, to make this tenfold, to reciprocate value. So what I would suggest is taking that step, because what we're talking about now, how we're talking about VR networking and Roberto's community, in a couple of weeks, we're going to take it, we're going to get together, we're going to come up with this new strategy, and already it's great, but we're going to make it greater. So take that step, take that leap, and just join. And for those of you that are sitting there thinking, I'm not. For those of you that sat there thinking, I'm not going to join because I'm not going to be able to make connections. I've made 5 connections on LinkedIn that I've spoke to, and I've got 5 meetings from one VR event. And I was
And that
only
was
there
the-
for
Harry, let's be honest. That was what is that? Easter Monday.
That was Easter
Nobody
Monday, yeah.
was there. Like compared to the regular numbers, that we had a no-show basically. And once we get this funnel done, and once we get like people into the webinars, like I want to bring in 100 new dedicated members every week.
Let's do it.
And grow this to 1,000 people. Harry, imagine how many calls you wouldn't be able to eat with all the calls.
Yeah, we would we'd be able to scale this even faster. I mean, we already got a team taking calls now, and it's pretty awesome, like how you can build sort of a organic pipeline.
Yeah.
To find what you need in a Web3 world. It's honestly like, okay, it's a little tricky to get started if you have no idea where. But I would say, you know, if you come in here, you're going to get welcomed by a staff member. You're going to get educated on the tools. We're doing a training on Web3 relationship development, not sales. I mean, obviously you're trying to sell a product or service if you're in business. We all got to make money. We all got to feed our families. But it's relationship development. It's finding ways to share value and solve problems. That's what Con and VR is doing. That's what VR networking, and that's what Tribe is all about. It's about human connections. So you heard it here. Go check out vrnetworking.com. Roberto's incredible. He's there at every event. He'll welcome you. And yeah, I mean, I'm super honored to have met you and be able to work together, Roberto. You're really an incredible and inspirational leader in this Web3 world. So keep being you, man. Keep being awesome.
You too.
I second that.
You know, I'm happy that we got to meet each other at the beginning of what we were doing.
Right.
Triba wasn't as far as it is now back then.
No.
You
Oh man, I
definitely
think
had
when we
everything.
met, it was like maybe 100 people or so
Yeah, I mean, but you had it all planned out, right?
from the beginning.
So did I, but we got to see everything like at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Nothing really done yet.
Yeah.
And
we've both grown
watching
in incredible
blossom.
ways just by helping people, which is really awesome to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the awesome part.
That
That's what
is-
gets me to sleep so
Yeah.
easily.
The quest called Triba is all about solving people's problems, bringing people together around common values and visions. And that's what VR networking is accomplishing in a new way. So thanks for being on here, man, and sharing your expertise, your story, and the future of VR networking. Let's get hundreds and thousands of people to join these events and realize the potential. We can do it.
Yeah. Tony
Let's do it.
Robbins level events every day of the week.
Nice. Any questions from the audience before we wrap up? The Philosophy Club already started, so some of them left. But we'll wrap up here to be respectful of Roberto's time and everybody listening. Just you can leave questions in the co-working chat or unmute and ask them now. Either way. All right. Cool. Well,
Yeah,
reach out to Roberto if you guys are interested in how you can use VR to superpower your business, and we'll definitely be doing some crossovers and planning some stuff. Other than that, thanks for joining A Quest Called Triba again, where we bring in business experts and leaders to share their story and what they have to offer to the community. So we'll be back.
You, brother.
We'll be back next time. Roberto, take care, man.
You too, bro. Thank you.